Question. What makes a CrossFit Games athlete different from the ones that are stuck in the open?
Steroids.
Episode over. Thank you very much. Mia, I thought you'd be a good coach to answer this because you're stuck in the open.
What are you?
That's the payback for our little commentary video.
Well, I don't personally coach any CrossFit Games athletes.
You train with them or see them train?
I do. I mean, talent is number one. Yeah. That's not saying, I feel like giving that answer might make people feel like, oh, well, I can't do it. But
they might not be able to.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be a reality in any field, I feel like, that you could commit yourself wholeheartedly to something and you're just not considered one of the best in the world. Doesn't mean don't do it. Like, there's people that are passionate about playing music. They're not going to be like the guitarist for a lead rock band. It's the same thing in athletics. Like, you can be passionate about it, love it, try to get better, and just not be good compared to the elite.
Right.
It'd be harsh, but it's true. Talent plays a role. So talent. Ability to commit and willingness to commit to the kind of training that they have to do.
Well, I like how you switched it. You were about to say commitment, and then you said ability to commit and willingness to commit. Why you say it like that? Because
if I just said commitment, it sounds like commit. You can do it. I mean,
what do you mean by willingness to commit to the training? Like, what's the difference? Let's say even a bubble athlete versus a games athlete. What have you noticed from a commitment perspective that's different in them? I know for myself, it's that they're always committed to trying to win the workouts that they do and push the envelope of where their threshold is on any given day. Even if it's not like their best day, they're always pushing the threshold of their capabilities, which I know I have a really hard time with doing endurance activities. If I'm stressed out, didn't get a good day of sleep, had a lot of work stuff. I mean, I probably could create the longest excuse list on the planet of reasons why I don't want to push to my absolute limit. And I find that the both men and women at the top of this sport they're kind of savage in that capacity, that they don't always push to their limits, but if they need to on any given day, they will find a way to go above and beyond.
Is it a lack of fear of what that feels like? Maybe that's something that just isn't part of their mental state. I know that I approach workouts fairly often, and I know that I do this and I try not to do it, but I haven't figured out how to not do it. Be like, man, that's really gonna hurt. Do I want to hurt that bad? Where can I save myself from that?
How can I make it more comfortable?
Right. I just made myself sound really bad.
Made sense to me.
But I mean, does Travis do that? Does Noah do that? Or is it always...
One thing, I mean, specifically with Trav, I feel like I could speak more about him than most other athletes because I see him train in person for so much of the training. I feel like he has a very short memory for the discomfort of workouts. There's very few workouts that I say, hey, we're gonna retest this, where he'd be like, oh God, I remember what that felt like last time. Like, I know there'd be like a 1K row or a 10-minute max effort assault. Like, there are some specific ones that probably stand out in his memory, but there are tests from the open that he just like, he doesn't even remember he did them. And I know for myself, if an experience was really uncomfortable, I hang on to it in my psychology. So I think it's figuring out, or for him, Travis has figured out how to remember the things that are important for him to be elite. So his technique, his movement quality, what he needs to do from a nutritional perspective. And he's not remembering and hanging on to the things that are like, that create fear and apprehension when walking into workouts, the discomfort, the pain, how it felt, a potentially bad experience that happened in training. So it could be a psychological characteristic as well that makes elite athletes. I mean, the mind and body are kind of one, so it makes sense.
Have you seen that with an athlete that doesn't have that? Have you seen them build into that? Or is it you got it or you don't?
Yeah, I don't know.
What specifically are you asking? What, dealing with pain?
The ability to just forget and like
and move on quickly.
and not be afraid of it the next time or not try to stay away from it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this one was specifically about games athletes, so I haven't built anyone. I mean, Travis was, even though he wasn't a games athlete and hadn't really competed other than the Open in 2011 when we started, he had metrics where I was like, this guy's really good. Like he had, I think, a 630 Helen. He was already like cleaning 300 pounds back in 2012. Like those numbers, just those two variables in and of themselves, I was like, wow, this guy is really physically talented. So it could just be something that's built into them.
So you were saying commitment.
Yeah, commitment. Sorry, that's 3, 4.
Still me?
Well, I can add to it. I think some is the importance of how much they want to get better. Like a lot of people, they have a priority structure in their life, whether they're conscious of it or not. There are things that they want to, their Netflix shows, the things that are really important to them. People who are elite at things like outside of family relationships, and general sustaining lifestyle, like whatever their professional income needs to be, right under that is performance in their craft. And if that's not where your priority is going to sit, you're probably not going to be an elite athlete unless you are off the charts talent-wise. Background in sport history, like people who are really good at this sport, since it's a young sport, played a lot of other sports and did a lot of physical things for a long period of time. So I think that would go into it as well.
Do you think maybe patient/perspective can be added to that list?
Yeah, depending on the athlete, I'd say. I think the more talented somebody is, the less patient they need to be sometimes, which is kind of unfortunate because they're going to set the they're going to be the role model for everybody looking up to them, where somebody who's really physically talented and really physically capable might get exposed in a weakness. Like, I'm not good at D-balls, so I came into the gym and 5 days a week I did 100 D-balls for time until I was really good at them. Now that's not a realistic way to look at it for most people. They hurt their back, their backs would get tweaked, but that type of stubborn approach to things might actually be one of the things that's required to be elite. It's really hard to isolate one variable because, like you said before we even started this, there's a lot that goes into the difference between somebody elite and on the bubble. And it might just be that if you're not showing that you have an opportunity to be elite in the first couple years of your quest, you're just not going to be that. And it might not be something that you try to figure out, like, well, why, what's different in them? It might just be something that you just have to accept. So
based off that, would you say number one is talent?
I would say that talent and... Yeah, talent, if talent encompasses like anthropometrics, past experiences that transfer into the sport, talent when you start doing CrossFit, I'd say probably is there. I know that people would maybe scoff at that and be like, oh, well, that's a cop-out, but it's true. People that are really good at things are just kind of built that way.
I'm sure there's tons of things you're forgetting that as soon as we turn the camera off, you'll be like, shit.
Well, it's a short video, also, we can't do it all.
I think if the question were the difference between a regional level athlete and a games athlete, then there'd be some more things in there. But someone who's stuck in the open versus a game, that's just...
Yeah, it's a wide
different.
Let's dive into the difference between regional guy and games guy.
Talent?
Yeah, well, yeah, I feel like that...
Just kidding, there is no regional.
Yeah.
Would you put time, or what? I guess
commitment.
What I meant from ability to commit was that.
Yeah.
Your
it's
life
hard
situation.
At a regional level because there's a huge gap between somebody that's like in the old format, 35th in the regionals and taking a top 5 spot. But that gap in a single year could literally just be that one of the workouts that was put in a testing format exposed them. Like Travis didn't make it to the games this year, and if you look at his score profile, it's like, oh, well, he can't bench. Does that mean he's not a games athlete? No, like he's already been there 4 times. So I feel like it could potentially be the workout selection, but it could also be any of the other number of variables that we have already laid out. I don't think it's talent when it's that close. When it's regional and games athlete, I think it's usually that the regional people are games athletes minus 1 or 2 things. Either a certain skill that they can't do under fatigue, they don't have the money to to get the type of guidance and coaching that they need on a regular basis. They don't have the training environment that they need.
They're in a weak-ass region.
They're in a weak region. Whatever the case is, I think that's usually the major discrepancy when you
Wouldn't it mean
start.
they're in a strong region, and that's why they didn't make it?
Yeah, probably. I'm glad that she just made you look stupid.
It's okay.
No one can see him, so.
All right. It made him sound stupid.
Oh, that's a given.
All right. Well, that's a good way to end this. Thanks for watching. When I created Training Think Tank, I wanted it to be just that, a think tank, a group of people that gets together and challenges each other's ideas on training. So what you watch in this video is one coach's beliefs. The other coaches and myself may or may not agree with what was said, but we're okay with that because we want to facilitate a discussion about training in the market.